The president there talking about his predecessor, but just before that, in the Iran nuclear deal, but before that, he was talking about the war on Iran, in his view, being successful so far, as he's on the road there in Kentucky. It comes as a preliminary investigation is putting the blame potentially on the U.S. for a deadly strike on that Iranian elementary school because of possibly old intel that showed it as a military target, according to two sources. We'll show you some video of that strike. You see it there, that plume of smoke coming up. I want to show you how the president responded to that.
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
The president saying he doesn't know about it. These images, according to Iranian state media, show fragments of what appear to be a U.S.-made missile. NBC News could not independently verify when, where, or how these fragments may be connected to the strike. It comes as there's obviously economic fallout from the war. Oil prices spiking again today with the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed, right? Basically closed at this point. 3 ships have been hit today near that key waterway where about a fifth of the world's oil passes through, according to a British maritime monitoring agency. Here's the smoke coming out of a Thai ship that was near the strait. And obviously there is a domino effect. Economists are still trying to figure out what that is for you here at home, right? People in America right now. With new data out today showing that inflation here in the U.S. was steadying before the war started. More on that in a bit. Also today, Iran's sports minister says their soccer team will not be participating in this summer's World Cup, announcing that just hours after FIFA's president said he'd been assured by the president that Iran would be welcome at the tournament. Lots to follow here. Courtney Kube is with us on set. Christine Romans is getting into the economic data. Richard Engel is live for us in Tel Aviv. Court, we're going to start with you here first and some of the news that has emerged today, some of the reporting from our team on this Iranian school strike, which we've been talking about now for over a week.
Yeah, so initially we were reporting that, in fact, it looked more and more likely, according to the preliminary investigation, that the U.S. was responsible. You just saw that video there, which very clearly looks like a Tomahawk missile. The U.S. is the only one who would have been striking in that area at the time. The U.S. has Tomahawk missiles, and then we know that they were using them at the time as well. Now, according again to this preliminary investigation, which I have to say continues to be under investigation. It's not complete yet. But the findings right now are that it does appear that not only was the U.S. likely behind it, but that they may have been using old intelligence during the targeting process. Now, the targeting process is usually multiple different agencies and some U.S. allies even will feed information in, and then something like an agency like the Defense Intelligence Agency will push forward and say, look, we believe this to be a valid target. But even when that happens, there's supposed to be additional validation from other agencies before they move forward with it. So right now, the investigation, according to the officials we're speaking with, are that it's really focused on where was the breakdown that went from DIA saying it's a valid target to actually striking what happened in between, that there was no determination that the school was on the site of an old Iranian military base. And there were Iranian military facilities around it, but there should have been a point in the process where someone said this is no longer a military facility.
What is the timeline for some sort of investigation internally like that? And would there be any expectation we would hear from somebody like the president about it? You heard his response there today. Presumably, as the commander-in-chief, would something like this be run up the chain?
Presumably,
once the investigation is complete.
It would be briefed to him. It would be briefed to the Secretary of Defense and Joint Staff and then up to the president. I suspect that we would hear from CENTCOM directly about it more likely than the president. The timeline is all over the map.
So talk about that, because you heard the president say he wants unconditional surrender. You've heard the president even today, and when he's there in Kentucky, saying it seems like it's going well. Like, does that mean we're still halfway through the 4 to 5 weeks he thought it was going to be? Are we closer to the end? Is this just indefinitely? Who knows?
It does seem like they are moving faster than expected. And when you look at it from if you look at the military objectives of this that they've laid out, they are actually making a lot of progress. Going after the missile program, air defenses are pretty much knocked out. They have basic, mostly air superiority over the country.
Just about the Navy.
The Navy has been pretty much wiped out. I mean, they still have naval capabilities. They still have air capabilities. They still have a lot of ballistic missile. And the two things that they really need to work on if they want to say that they have won militarily there, they got to finish off the ballistic missile program and the drone program.
Well, we talked about the drones,
Yeah, the drones, that's a huge problem. Drones are difficult. They are to defend against. They're really cheap and they're effective. And they have tens of thousands of them. They need to address that. And then the big question, the nuclear program. Everyone seems to have forgotten about the nuclear program. They've taken no strikes there, and we have no idea if they're actually going to target it.
Courtney Kube, it's not like you're busy. Thank you very much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.